In quant 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you want me?
What is CJGG? Okay, I resent it with Aiden Collins.
Is there a conference for Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Is the 1AC about to start soon?
Yeah, I'm waiting on one of them, but then, yeah. Okay. Y'all good?
Yeah.
Everybody? Sweet. Forsen?
You can start. It's fine.
Okay. Advantage 1 is economic stagnation. Inevitable recession produced rampant unemployment by excluding prime wage workers from the labor force. That guarantees prolonged slow growth or second stagnation. Sinus 22, recovery employment ratio with painfully slow pattern. From recent recession, even after employment rates fall, labor force participation rate depressed. More people become excluded permanently from the labor markets, workers and not seeing wage increases even after decline of participation. Social system not displayed by participation 55 and over in rising countries with higher participation, even more regulated state markets and more extended safety net. So much attributed social systems or education. Unlikely Americans are voluntarily leaving. No one is reported warning a job is declined. Average the labor supply conditions play very little. We do not find evidence workers pursue education or care or household chronically insufficient demand produce insufficient jobs. Redundancy of labor keeps the wage growth low and encourages workers to voluntarily leave. Hinders growth given training. Jobs and wages sectors and nations inevitable. F from pandemic is that rates have fallen greatly, could be long lasting. Insufficient demand makes economic stagnation inevitable. The plan's targeted job creation is the only way to solve structural and approximate costs of decline by stimulating consumer spending while avoiding inflationary pressures. John 22. Insufficient demand has been the primary reason for low growth. Slow growth of demand causes slow investment. Boosting capacity exceeds demand side. This reduces incentives to invest. Causes insufficient demand. Include labor underutilization rates, inequality, insufficient spending, falling participation rates are indicative of insufficient demand problems. Not demographic warehouse. So recovery due to insufficient job creation as well as stagnant wages. Stagnation is periodically relieved by short bursts of unstable price as bubbles. Once the bubble bursts, we return to stagnation. And recent expansion recovery of participation and attenuated rates being depressed from pandemic VI might raise beyond ability to grow supply constrained output. Results could be stagnation, inflation, ELR bring workers in the labor force without fueling inflation. Secular stagnation is a crisis accelerant, makes nuclear war polar if China more and every other great power conflict far more likely. Oppenheimer 21. U.S. power decline relative to other countries. September 7 and populism, undermined liberal institutions, increase likelihood of liberal globalization, multipolarity, nationalism, define our future world is entering a long period of diminishing growth. Increased spending might be prudent, uncertainty, policies toll ensure next recession be particularly nasty. You have less government change course, the rise of nationalism, populism, affected the slower growth makes liberal order more difficult to resuscitate. Politics become polarized, collaboration, toxic hegemonic leadership will be unavailable. Institution become battlegrounds. U.S. is lost protected among rivals and allies. Economies incentivizing investment, political effects produce dangerous world. Produce creatures of interdependence enable for World War III economic exchange regression. Eroding too many house Korean Peninsula. SCS Taiwan multipolarity entails sudden changes. States may defect and cause greater uncertainty, greater possibility of assumptions about adversaries, psychology, high potential escalation, definitive war. States have always on edge, entertaining worst case scenarios. Risks are always heightened for weakening institutions to get clearly defined. Declining conflicts expand with government seeking legitimacy through external conflict, unipolarity, multipolarity, hazardous distinction, superpowers, testing challenges, primacy, and worsening relations. Nuclear competition will be defining will complicate non-proliferation transfer weapons down to the safety about the multipolar world. Clearest effort widening distribution of power may away from unipolarity. Narrowing gap in GDP. GDP most useful. Predictor of power from the economy. Situation has implied power growth is not given American free for all. Produce multipolarity given relative to economic capacity, increasing joblessness, waste, and nation widening inequality. Constitution constitute for the system, democratic system, hegemon, lost leadership, great power, war, cause extinction, clear 21, extinction, unrecoverable collapse, permanent dead, growth story, RPC, unimaginable suffering, instinctual possibility for shows that happy life, power, conflict, waste, fire rising, or lowering the amount of effects, the threats, and other areas that full-blown war, nuclear war, hasten dangerous tech, cause breakdown cooperation, mitigate other situations, victorious life, lock in suboptimal values, war could leave us vulnerable, skip the Haas card. For now, only the plan stabilizes the private sector's volatility, alternative policies fail, alternative 21, conventional approach cannot deliver jobs for all, fast way to eliminate unemployment, jobs guarantee, in recession workers laid off, unemployment guarantee, during job recovery and private sector demand is restored, firms attract workers a bit better pay benefits, program deflation, inflation, private sector, private sector experience greater unemployment, volatility, jobs guarantee, experience of wage price anchor, minimum wage laws are not effective for floors of wage of a person who fails to find employment, solely zero wage, base employment wage price inflation to ensure productivity, legislation will require a review of wage benefit package made to increase the lack of productivity spending on hiring will always be at the right level without stimulative politics. The plan avoids all negative economic effects. Macroeconomic simulations prove Ray 18. The results of macroeconomic simulation for 10-year period use real-world data models while they adopted proven to provide robust benefit of real-world data. We error on the program. The most costly inflation. The program would generate 4 million additional permanent private sector jobs. 5 million would re-enter labor force. Spoke about real GDP over $500 billion per year. Inflation would be insignificant. We peaks of 0.74%. Falls to 0.09 as economy adjusted tax revenue rises. So increase in budgets modest improved performance would help these budgets by 53 billion a year. These estimates are very conservative regarding savings on programs cost of employment are already paid for. Subnational actors lack the fiscal capacity to ensure full employment. Carter 20 FGD would be administered by the DOL. States would have weak capacity to respond to economic crisis. States would nothing like the Fed to back economic money. States lack states like revenue generating capacity have constrained powers of PBAs to minimize inequality. Workers would be federally employed. Federal government needs to provide jobs to avoid imposition requirements. Federal government could offer jobs in the option. Therefore, the United States federal government should adopt a federal jobs guarantee. Advantage to its workers. Two scenarios. First, unions. They're latent, but the plan revitalizes them, providing leverage to workers. Purely period benefits fail and ensure the worst excess of exploitation. Castile 22. Job guarantee warfare compares to make little sense. Participants were hardly good work and Irish conditions have low likelihood of participation because guarantee would lead to great structural challenges for workers. Workers exit out from lockoff, knowing that another secure option forces the workforce to go. Overall, LPR increasing bargaining puts pressure on wages. Guarantees bolster mobilization capacity. Providing avenues for organizing will make mass unionization possibility. Union would have the rights. Our political aim would be to increase social effort to build opposition without assurances. Workers fear that dismissal. JG could alleviate the fear of facilitate growth of working class and size and strength. The basic income will weaken potential for collective action. Biden will inevitably push democratic norms globally, but weak domestic unions ensure authoritarianism prevails. Star 23. Biden priorities illustrated shifts in U.S. Thinking focus on organized democracies. Unions essential democracy. We need to strongly remove by casting out pro-union. Union means democracy. How the rhetoric translates into meaningful action. More complicated. Biden embarks on a modest state of affairs. Unions capacity to mobilize and force political change far outweighs smaller organization studies of democratic time in the West. Important for the U.S. to use the cloud economic power to support workers by building connection between movements around the globe. Pact solidarity. The emphasis has a direct bearing on advancing democratic rights, democracy and clash. Authoritarian regime for constituted data would have clear soft power dividends. Contract between working condition BRI compared to U.S. protection will resonate with in a lot of countries. Democracy plugs existential risk from a laundry list of impacts, nuke war, pandemics, climate change, and future tech risks. Battlefield 23. Silence your space teaching about dealing with deaths more likely to major wars. Misconduct might be the problem due to personalizations instead of accurate info base. Exchange likely ways to change the WMD. Society less cooperative life, transparency, limits agreement for pandemics, climate change, and inequality. If it's a power AI biotech, we should be concerned about locking in future tech risks. AGI space settlement or surveillance emerging power. Totalitarian world would extend risk of extinction as well as distortion human trajectory, which threaten destruction of humanity's potential. Second, diseases they're coming and the risk is high. Overcorrect for invisible thresholds in your impact. Pen 21. Viral outbreak extreme events aren't rare. New analysis over 400 years highlights the need to adjust rates to large pandemics are likely new statistical models methods measure the scale and frequency of outbreaks. Intense outbreaks growing rapidly. Probability of outbreaks will go threefold. Pandemic similar to scale of COVID is likely within 59 years, capable of eliminating all human life. Statistically likely that it's not. They say we're off the hook for calamity. Events are equally probable in a year. Outbreaks are becoming more frequent. Population growth, changes in food, environmental degradation, and frequent contact between humans and animals. This points to the importance of early responsibility capacity at global scale. In the face of such risk, the CDC is shedding jobs, but a federally directed jobs guarantee solves Carter 20. Important federal agencies have shrunk. The CDC has been shedding jobs. The Fed could fund and structure public services to boost supply physicians and capacity of state agencies. Local governments is weak. Critics pointed to lack of personnel, decision-making agencies that relies on lobbyists. Eliminates involuntary unemployment, ensures more resilient, secure public infrastructure. Americans can transform a country into one ready for the next pandemic. CDC managed job program is a linchpin of an effective national response. Martindale 20 program of contact tracing will take people power is only one of many pandemic tasks which are understands health system needs, recruit to interrelated problems, people out of a job, government needs to expand its workforce. The solution, 300 full-time, 1,000 contract tracers made by the CDC, be recruited, trained, and hired to states. Contract tracers not enough, patchwork nature is inadequate to addressing a crisis that doesn't respect. Borders needs to provide program coordinate, priorities, establish standardized protocol, and reach neglected community. States are unable to print their own money, so unless you pay people, are not going to have the well-trained workers you need. CDC has internal knowledge capacity to run something like this. Contract tracing, either train requires access to a phone rather than a degree. Workers are wide range of backgrounds, could be tasted to synthesize post states good. Access will fail dramatically. Need for healthcare workers not in a crisis. Essential problems unfunded healthcare. Infrastructure will not go away. Permanent public health care job guarantee would make it far more prepared for the next crisis. I've explained it. Tracing much more quickly. Public health force might be directed to everything from infectious disease to cancer. Unmitigated pandemics cause extinction. -22. We have to plan for how to face the next pandemic. Even more pandemics that need existence. Human rights pandemics could result in complete shutdown of civilization. Extending new variants mutation by weakening antibiotics. COVID helps us realize that we are hitting a time bomb. Billions of other viruses waiting. Put in danger of the existence of other inhabitants of planet Earth. Independently, federal staffing shortages thwart private sector biotech innovation. Bro 623. The CDC will be unavailable to prepare for the next vector. Not a question of whether or not illness will occur, but the CDC cutting the CDC since the weaken the private sector willingness to invest. Effects will result in elimination of research product makes price a new research at a time of biotech and pharma experiencing downturn, increased federal funding as a formula for scientific regression, and biotech decline allows the Chinese sector to overtake American pharma. Extinction, more 20. No-code Russia experts devote time to a more exotic threat, catastrophe in a previous age, nuclear war. Today's biotech and China war, a whole new threat. China's like catching up China, competing the U.S. and Beijing about nationalism. That the U.S. and China role in pharma could disrupt battlefield medicines, alter them to harm forces of biotech and contract to nukes. It's easy to wait back for to develop CRISPR, straightforward terrorists to develop weapons no one alive. Could resistance mean standards in China matter if a weapon were unleashed? It's unlikely any country could escape. Going back to Haas. First advantage. Revitalizing the U.S.-led order solved the litany of risks. Haas 22 declining world order fest to become Steve. The United States opposition Russia headed by Tyrant Luxury gave Russia fear of influence. G has embarked on a quest for global pharmacy and competition with the U.S. Risk of colliding with climate pandemics, nuclear power, America cohesion at risk. U.S. leadership underpinned order fast 75 years. High competition makes it difficult to produce cooperation. Prospects of major power war in Europe and the Pacific around and cause instability produce most dangerous moments in World War II. Task for to our national power against disorder. I'm good.
I really need to use the bathroom. Sorry, I'll be right back.
That'd be good.
You good?
Yeah. Yeah.
How's that funded?
Normal means it's deficit spending.
Okay. What kind of jobs do you create?
First, we would fill jobs within the CDC that are lacking. Our evidence says that's about 300,000 jobs now. That's way less than the number of people that are unemployed. So after all those are filled, we'd probably direct them to things like infrastructure.
Okay. And how much do you pay for those jobs?
It fluctuates a little bit, or does it, Raleigh?
Our normal means is $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. With benefits?
Normal means benefits, yes.
Normal means with benefits. And is it adjusted to cost of living?
Raleigh.
We think it would be, I mean, depending on the region, it would probably be adjusted to cost with living. I mean, normal means is a standard wage. It would change, like, with
Standard
inflation,
wage.
obviously.
What do you mean standard wage?
Like, normal means
Minimum
is
wage
$15.
Okay. And then, is it different based on different regions or not?
Normal means is, no, it is not.
Okay, so $15 everywhere. And is it adjusted to inflation?
Normal means yes.
Okay. So let's talk about the democracy scenario. Your evidence cites broader trends for why democracy is declining now, beyond just union power. How do you think you reverse those trends?
Well, the Thar evidence is really good solvency for why unions are key and reverse causally solve. The Thar evidence says that Biden has kind of staked a lot of his democratic norm promotion on the success of like his domestic worker-centric agenda. It also says that other countries perceive the domestic success of unions and compare that to the lives of workers in other countries.
Is it less about solving democracy at home and more about democracy promotion? Is that your internal belief?
Well, I mean, like, the impact is more about promotion, yes. I mean, we also think it's bad if
the argument that even if democracy is doing bad at home, as long as there's unions, Biden can project that democracy is strong.
Other countries need to perceive that the United States is sufficiently democratic. We've read evidence.
Unions aren't the only thing they care about.
I disagree. We've read very good evidence that says that unions are absolutely key to the international perception of domestic democratic credibility.
The CDC stuff, what kind of jobs do you give them?
Contact tracing jobs, vaccine distribution, things like that.
Okay, and how does that solve diseases we cannot predict, which is your extinction scenario?
The Martindale evidence says that the next disease that is coming is at least more likely to be solved by people power being directed to contact tracing. It makes things like quarantine easier.
Okay.
Also,
But why is people heated at? Like, quarantine, you just tell them to stay home. Why do we need workers? Doesn't that increase the chance of spread?
one, going to re-clarify one of my old answers. Not indexed to inflation. Wages are not indexed to inflation.
Not indexed?
Yeah, sorry.
Plan prevents inflation wholesale. There's no
Okay, yeah,
inflation.
but
No need to
inflation
index it.
occurs all the time. So it's like
It
on
wouldn't.
average
It's not under a
20%
jobs
a year.
guarantee.
So there's gonna be no inflation after the plan passes.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
I mean, we've read evidence and
Like,
we'll
is
read
there
more
gonna be
into it.
deflation?
Yeah, well, no, it's no inflation.
What is 8 stagnation workers?
Do you need to stand or? Okay. Give me 1 sec to open it. Okay.
Is anyone not good? Okay. First up is a jobs critique. The app valorizes jobs entrenching a regime of orchestrated alienation. A job guarantee subordinates workers by consigning them to toil for others instead of the community. Standing 18 will reinforce laborism of jobs meant as a means to end many economists make a fetish of jobs and jobs suiting labor for others. Whatever at work we do it for those we love or for our community for ourselves. A regime of putting everyone in unchosen activities so it will be orchestrated alienation. We can increase the time and energy for work that are self-chosen and oriented to personal and community development. People have a right to be lazy. Rejecting indignity work is both possible and necessary. So they can be right to be lazy, overcoming their work ethic. We central in terms of building post-work neoliberalism established incentive is identified as competitive subjects where it has become central to a self-consumption work ethic that's infected our mind. Overcoming your work ethic will require overcoming ourselves. Essential ideological support is a remuneration must be tied to suffering. Disposition must be rejected. Work should not be glorified. What is needed is a counter-hegemonic approach to work that will overturn ideas about desirability of work. There's widespread hatred for jobs. Changing the cultural consensus will mean taking actions at the everyday level. Next off is negative income tax kind of plan. The United States federal government should implement the negative income tax, solves every internally but is politically feasible. Territory unit is economically and politically feasible within a year. It can eliminate poverty, reduce inequality, and insulate livelihood from automation and pandemic pricing. The Florida lowers the risk this is further for innovation. Next off is inflation disad. The economy is in Goldilocks growth is strong. Inflation along COVID 9/11 will happen in March miracle growth. And GDP and jobs has remained solid. Measures of inflation on the fear and falling. There have been some bumps, nevertheless of all. Inflation is real. Goldilocks come to inflation. Job guarantee triggers rampant inflation peak within 48 days. Increased wage price powers, currency depreciation, and increases the cost of workers. While price increases on capitalists through wage spikes, high capitalists swipe a bit onto workers through price increases. Changing greatly increases tendency towards wage price powers. Inflation escalates global hotspots extinction. Inflation. Grants 21, inflation is a geopolitical phenomenon rooted in rising tensions and can have corrosive effects on world order. Scarce supplies cause ruptures within a democratic world. Inflation ate at the American defense budget. Rising prices contributed to political upheavals. Interest rates could batter indebted countries. Inflation created a distracted superpower. Pentagon is forced to build out just as China expands its military. Russia is threatening conflict in Eastern Europe. Relations with Iran deteriorate. Next off is the states campaign. The 50 states are now relevant. Some national actors should uniformly implement a jobs guarantee funded by eliminating wealth-favoring tax programs and value-added tax. States have expertise in funding to implement JT, avoids politics, and federal on Newman 21 state government submissions we make labor markets by guaranteeing employment window. Federal government guarantee looks likely. Federal dollars for the states create an opportunity for states to be models for federal policy. Next off is the CR disad. Finance pushing CR now would like to pass with scholarship back in the United States. Congress space set 30 deadline would be in funding. White House asked for $44 billion to attack on his foreign for sure. The White House will get everything faces resistance from some Republicans. Though the White House said it's confident their votes to support Ukraine. Job guarantee uses all available political capital. Has like 18 political constraints. Current jobs guarantee will become law in terms of we need a president and Congress willing to use all available political capital to implement a jobs program. The plan spending unites opposition. Even a small gap in support will collapse. Ukrainian resistance can see an A-15 is critical for military operations and missions will prevail because money is running out. The missions remaining ask for more now. Outside it is battle without aid resistance with option 2 weeks. The US needs to fight an uninterrupted fall, even a short gap with undermining resistance. Blockage is unlikely, but a battle and it's inevitable. The populist right wants to reduce battle spending so far. The opposition has not reduced the aid in the face of bipartisan support. The administration will push Congress to act. Success in Ukraine would determine wars, aggression, prevent the global nuclear arms race. Speech in 2023, the US must pursue peace to change isolationist fear. Failure to resist Hitler's invited war. The same will be true if we allow people to seize Ukraine, if we help Ukraine prepare. We will rewrite the narrative of weakness to restore the church against China, strike a blow against Russian alliance, stop the nuclear arms race, and make the world will be less likely. Next off is the sortation campaign. The next federal allocated sortation body tasked with considering the federal jobs promise. Sortation solves the spill of silver. Electronics 18 a deliberate process of job creation comes through sortation fair. Cross election residents could be assembled to determine what employment can make the most sense. Sortation bodies can become spaces of democracy and value. We select residents with deepened knowledge and civic agents. Sortation curbs elitism, extinction. More than 18 there are many acts such as terrorism, nuclear war, militaristic regimes, and climate change and cause destruction of life. Elites are responsible for speed elevation and dramatic increase in inequality. The power of elites increases exponentially. Governments, nations are the main threats to the climate. The only institution that has the power to cover elites. The power to predict acts against true representation only for politicians. Listen to the people when they stop the leaks. Next up is a job creation campaign. The United States Commission should create 300,000 CDC jobs. 1 AC Martindale and Crossex as a sovereignty advocate. Next up is a union system. Unions is for R&D investment launch list. Customer 17 unions increase wages of public invest. R&D vulnerable not possible review benefits of firms. Invest less employees commit to forego with share whatever invention profit. Employees deviate from agreement union working is hardly observed long horizons and searching the credible agreement. Wages reduce profit to capital R&D vulnerable rely on internal funding external providers reluctant because investment to intangible uncertain. Given the patient knowledge goals of the crowd or predictable. Firms reluctant to give details leakage even if unions secure a fraction of the decrease. R&D investors foresee risks of unions and become reluctant. 1 AC red link for us. Open innovation safeguards humanity from existential emerging tech, Halligan 18, all problems are complex nuke bioweapons, the emerging tech, biotech, and generating neurotech, regenerative robotics, collaboration with innovations that chase in scientific beliefs, improve capacity, managed tech, use by openness is necessary for evolution, managed tech, CTE, Peninsula University, create any product being unlimited wealth and lower Peninsula, least control at the expense of discovery associated with good openness, optimal for management, to manage tech, collective and leverage, keeping pace with that's also increase. Stagnation. One no cycle stagnation, productivity is skyrocketing, believed to be 2021 abundance grows faster than population, called superabundant people, develop sophisticated cooperation, world is incomparably richer, more productive, nutrition, literacy, antibiotics, and other communities, time limits, present more fully capture innovation, product universal standardized way, measure innovation and productivity since learning ought to be measured, and we are astonished by your biggest accelerating growth. 2. COVID and 08 thumb. 3. No, 3. Should I read that card? Harry? 3. Oppenheimer's writing about 4 forces, knowledge and stagnation, and says it's done by a laundry list, insert reality, what is the Oppenheimer? 4. You can't solve secular stagnation. Oppenheimer thinks structural forces like populism makes slow growth impossible to overcome. 5. JC fails. Prejudice petty. Do you think it is good to thinking Washington should consider first one class Washington teachers to sell work they're not trained to do, make complicated about inability to fire, not cut out costs, but it'll be tremendous. Workers. 1. Can't stop unions, anti-union laws, and corporate propaganda subsume the unionizing effect of a job guarantee. 2. Causes Trumpism, populism, election conspiracies. 3. Democracy causes global war. 21. Damn pieces can replace as law to save peace, foster democracy, making look as variables related, even if non-common, causing to be unobservable, generating endogenous relations, each remain fully understood and appealing to justice, by finding out having taken care of endogeneity. Democracy does have a pacifying effect, findings show that democracy is more likely to effect than non-2. Accidental warming is inevitable and causes the collapse of the extreme authoritarianism, only allowing democracy to decline itself. 21. Like it's the democracy is reasonable and active as the receiving effects will appear and due with no infrastructure organization to continue to relocate shortages and objects, spread and zeros, the centralization of the government, handle the direct slow down to the action with black disease, disruptive disasters and necessity, suspension democracy can come out with urgent assistance for the catastrophic change in transformation and authoritarianism is the only way forward in democracy. Focus on complex problems that's over the horizon. 3. Democracy makes disease control impossible. 21. Cover to expose fatal defects. Scholars question whether democracies have ability to deal with crisis. Democracy found to contain a crisis spread out of time where it may affected all democracies in response and report the effect of reducing death row and orange states disad in response to quickly affecting gun physical diseases so they repeat the tragedy effects of democracy and able to cope with crisis. 4. No solvency. Disease is global. 5. Disease can't solve extinction. Laundry list house 20. Pathogens are likely to cause extinction during tragedies without being assuming it is dead. The base rate is low. Past epic is long-term cause only extinction of the minority of animals. The only animal is the rat being during Christmas silence. Humans are supposed the diversity capable of responding characteristics increase your immunity by exposure to lower strains. Medicines and to limit damage. 5. No internal link farmers not the make or break of competition. 6. It's infeasible at a large scale and there's no biotech impact. It's regulated. 19. Some microbiome poses risk. However, many consider misuse researchers making no sense of risks such as large scale meat boundary remediation has not been possible with no consensus regulation. Remain supportive regulation keep its speed with tech and focus on product rather than process and suitable frameworks to discourage battle. Stagnation. Every area of economic course is proved by comprehensive studies, classification economic stresses associated with transnational policies from 109 dialects and 7 which determine the average press likely to determine the downturns, crisis of electric austerity prices, but incentive to cut the effects, crisis encourage strategic reassessment, at least allocate the seriousness of variable, crisis promote the prioritization of crisis, increase the benefit of foreign cooperation, linguistic aid, trade, and investment.
Okay. Are you good?
Yeah.
The critique is the alternative just to BI.
No.
What is it?
It's accepting that we can be lazy.
Yeah, how do you convince people outside this room to accept that they can be lazy?
We think it's a good idea, so we don't have to do stuff.
So you don't claim to solve for people outside this room?
We think it's a good idea, i.e. feel.
Oh, okay, sure. The wealthy favoring tax programs, what are those?
Those are things like progressive income taxes, corporate taxes, and other taxes that generate billions of dollars.
They're wealthy favoring.
No. There are certain programs that give tax breaks to wealthy either for owning land or for other forms of activities that we don't think are economically productive.
Okay.
They just give more money to the wealthy.
The CR disad, you had a link about PC and bipartisanship. Do you have to win both or just one?
Just one.
Okay, sure. Political capital, what is it? How does the plan trade off?
Political capital is Biden's ability to persuade legislators. The plan trades off because every conservative would hate this socialist policy. That's the job guarantee.
Well, so does it have to do with like political favors or like political intimidation?
Well, obviously there's elements of both. If Biden,
How does the plan dull Biden's ability to intimidate conservatives?
because I guess it's probably more of the latter, because conservatives aren't really intimidated by Biden. They think he's this old white guy, and even if he's scary, that doesn't affect their political standing. So the only thing that matters is whether or not Biden can alleviate their concerns and focus on the issues they care about.
Sortition solves and spills over. What card do you think you've read that says that they spill over?
The Chinese card. I can't pronounce the last name, but it's very explicit about how sortition spaces and one sortition body can become a laboratory for public participation.
Is it very explicit? I'm reading it right now and I don't see anything close to spillover warrant.
It says sortition bodies could become spaces of
Yeah, that you highlighted words at the top of a paragraph and then at the bottom. This is not like a spillover warrant. This is like sortition spaces are good.
Yeah, and it says that
it does not say that it spill over.
Participatory democracy.
That's fine.
And it could extend to other areas.
Participatory democracy curbs elitism. Why is elitism bad?
So our argument is that while the United States is a democracy, it's a democracy that's controlled by corporate interests. So fossil fuel companies have an outsized influence in the decisions the government makes. Only if there's direct democracy, where individuals directly have the ability to influence and to vote on policies, would that allow us to solve those existential risks from terrorism, nuclear war, militaristic regime, and climate change.
Inflation disad, like what's the brink for inflation unraveling the U.S.-led order?
It's
As you said in cross-section.
It's linear.
Yeah, like how much inflation would come close to unraveling the order?
It's linear, but hyperinflation would probably...
What is hyperinflation?
Well, there's no percentage, but like 7, 8, 9, 10% maybe.
Okay, Tim, starting now.
There's this stuff.
Okay, 8:42. so. Okay, so everyone good for an order? Okay. Advantage 1, stagnation. Advantage 2, workers. Then the negative income tax counterplan. Then the K. Then the state's counterplan. Then the sortition counterplan. Then the job creation counterplan. Then the inflation disad. Then the politics disad. And then the unions disad. Okay, is everyone good?
Give me one.
Yeah, give me a second.
Okay. Okay, good.
1 is when the pulling evidence to wrong productivity is not what is determining a GDP. It's about demand. What is Adonis evidence 1 to 2 08 COVID wrong. Oppenheimer evidence says the next session will be particularly nasty because of austerity measures that have reduced their that have make the next recession more likely to cause a recession. Oppenheimer highlighting is wrong. Oppenheimer says stagnation drive those forces, not those forces drive stagnation. Structural forces are wrong. The Oppenheimer evidence is as a straw person of another argument with Adonis evidence. There's no odd cause and demand. It's a critical internal link. The Pethukas evidence is wrong. The jobs guarantee fires in extreme cases which solves the firing war and training stuff is solved by training, which teaches that's the marginal evidence advantage too. 1 is when anti-union laws are breaking down by Gosell evidence that says that the jobs guarantee would provide leverage to the workers so they can break down those laws. 1 is 2 no odd cause. The evidence says that unions are the key internal link to democracy. 1 is 3 democracy leads to war as about democracies versus democracies, not about how personal dictators are more likely to cause war and about how democracy is better cooperation affects to the rest. Democracy is better for the environment. I want to see Bob got on to 18. Democracy means freedom of the press, speech, and the social and the making market services for the goals raising and social response, including environmental issues, close to the environment, and democracy and government control and DCs. Performance user criteria of quality better comparison and of simple indices because it is a comprehensive over aspects of environmental role indicate that there is a relation in democracy improvement quality improves. Democracies are key to disease cooperating 20. These are the disease spread around international coalition laboratory with the new democracy nation that able partners in democracy knowledge China Cuba to the US also love it the next China. This is an incompatible approach Beijing continues to run CDC even in crisis recording comes source members of the whole meaning cannot stop operating but they go together to left to respond to democracy and democratic society have health and human not just because the democratic are wealthier. 1 and C6 notice these global impact the CDC solves and that was the evidence I read above. But I want to see evidence also said the CDC collaborates with international institutions like the WHO. The Halstead evidence is wrong. It's written pre-COVID lies and historical arguments. New 21st centuries make it likely to cause extinction. 1 to see yes, pharma is key. It's the key internal link to outcompeting China in the market so they can prevent it. And then from selling bioweapons. 1 to see 9 the bioterror defense and not assume China has the technology capabilities to give bioweapons to non-state actors. NIT kind of. First, permanent negotiations and a benefit. 2, permanent the economy. 3, cannot solve any of the app, does not provide counter-cyclical stimulus. NIT collapse the economy, overshoots demand-side stimulus, causing spiraling inflation and stagnation. That Johnson evidence cannot solve unions, only guaranteed employment. Removes fear of termination, also kills unions. That's what Gosell evidence. 4 links to politics. Evidence it's pivotal to other policies, not that it will not cause fights. K. First framework way the plans the purpose beyond implication against competitive and legitimate alternatives unfair fairness the only package for class be critical research uses 2 extinction out ways build balance reverse what includes any alternative than life included the case 3 opposed to work society's nonsense turn of 18 should be moving to birth society many people want to paper visit not be independence age does have better to think paper and not flying a public option to paper and visit a post society as not whether many people so want to work in the light of environmental styles having large health to be able to work see doing long liberation market incompatible with sustainable not a real potential any future arresting message in a world of great over 4 vague post-work alternatives fall flat link 20 imagine proposals are useful. It's a lot of well-thought out approach like the Geopolitical society to decide to make gameplays. Most worth the equivalent to the academic space model of the series revolution was only exists in theory. There's an underlying highly unpredictable to dealing with the present movement over the kinetic theory. Political minds might never break out the sphere. Philosophy 5 cannot solve any of the after the key to the entire one to see if the all becomes a BI that fails. I answer that on the Kahneman states Kahneman. First, states can solve disease prevention of the capacity, coordination, internal knowledge, to scale up in public health workers, only CDC direction ensures an effective national laws like Carpenter and Martin elements also cannot solve a farm innovation because relying on the perception that CDC is adequately staffed. 2, permanently well chosen on benefit politics. Biden makes states take the plan, no follow-on politics is proven that they win and links in a benefit. 3, states fiscally friendly because they cannot print money means they can't solve the plan. That's the Carpenter evidence. 4, uniform PC vote over is a voter distorts flow to strategy for debates and devilish race the bond funding starts limited political decision making for nobody. Can decide between the SOG and the uniform say reject the team, reject the argument, disincentivize theory, enforce an unreasonable time, invested 5, permanently count on normal means involves legal implementation. 6, states cannot solve democratic signaling. Biden not the states reclaim the narrative as a pro-union leader to push norms globally. That's the evidence that the wealthy, fair, and tax program playing subverts the federal programs. They cannot touch those. If they try to, they federal if they begin to answer when they read a card VAT, it's impossible and to enforce because of administrative difficulties, and also reduce efficient welfare and slash the production sortition. First, no internal and no for single instance of the economy does not solve all elitism, huge causes like massive wealth disparities. B, no impact all the laundry list of 12. I want to see impact. 2, permanent the economist's way they plan. Give now 3, do the economy within the app should does not require certainty. Core 15. Policy in different terms are to fall direction and no right guidance. Policy language policy condition allocated. Action must be taken in all cases. Expedition policy will always careful policy condition should. And again, action most cases exceptions are simple for good reason. Should refers to the future around 8. Should look at the future considering possible future from 4. Permanent the economy the plan and the economy others should solve these from the benefits. I will send other text after the 2EC economy must be texting and functioning about maximize your main comparison after and object 285 cannot solve a certainty is key. Bros actually the signal the CDC adequately staff and critical ensure farm innovation economies and uncertain amendment staffing for what is difficult serving conform economists. B, the Congress says no because they win the links to politics. It proves it because the economy is not a binding consultation. 6, permanent solves internal job creation. Perm do both per 2 permanent economy. 3, links to the benefit is the exact same as the AFCON who's also voter dispo solves 1 straight to maximize in-depth research. 2, fairness AF can be done. All ideas ever magic. 3, contradiction. 3, answers inflation disad. First, recession is inevitable. A, insufficient accurate demand makes recession cycle to less on 7 is B, inflation overshiny now, word is like 6. Recession remains more likely than loss of land inflation being significantly more likely. And then we need to investment and mobile pension of the rate inflation target pressure on the economy become more evident next year. 2, no inflation link is a one-time jump that quickly falls to insignificant levels. That's the rate evidence. So 3, the plan eliminates inflationary pressure. NAVA evidence. 4, inflation is inevitable. Corporate greed, not wage increases, driving it at an elevated 23. Robust corporate profit margins, not wages, are having a much bigger impact on higher prices, high inflation when people inflation over requirement ever. And stronger profit margins over corporation raise their prices because they can't blame inflation. Wages are not the problem. 5, Burns about global inflation, not domestic, which means they cannot solve what we solve ours because our impact is about domestic stagnation and collapsing hegemony. 4, it's also discriminative with status quo inflation means there's no impact in unionist politics, is that. Freedom Congress shuts the bill down. Mally upon that 14. HSC for strong opposition complaining blank change McCarthy considering a mitigate the lean close to the right flank role. And Luna never will support any 8 other Republicans are not. Freedom Congress may have made so much in green against others called for conditioning. I'm not sure it's about Royal Express headed to the election being a consideration future until Biden provides approved Congress to clear mission it is more grown by the GOP members of the Congress over worried that Africa can become forever. 2, tons of agenda items swamp the plan so big 9-5. Battles will dominate Washington in the House. It's a House episode more lots of more votes on the stream policy writers and lawmakers need to feel desperately fun global over. And any time to see art and individual litigation will be tougher. Watching the advance act the farm bill permitting foreign Republican a bill to repeal the IR, the more to come. PC fails unless Biden is popular with the public and MS21. High approval ratings of more PC, the higher they're preventing the more PC damage the world Congress Biden. Turns attention to spending great his but I have been watch close to a rough gauge of how much PC has. Biden's approval is not as lofty as aspiration. The plan generates support for Biden rate of 23. Democrats overwhelming support JG by more than 41 is looking for popularity. JG most popular among working class Democrats. Independent Republicans policy Republicans independent respond favorably. Only a policy policy to all parties. No internal Ukraine aid now is not key. Their emphasis Congress appropriated hundreds of billions of funding should have deterred wars of aggression. Teaching aggressors via Russian defeat is a myth. Wall 22. No shortage of cases where aggressor badly defeated yet aggression does not pay as a nor lesson war not clear people don't have close worried about was bad or devoted to the defeat of backlog lesson will be discarded at the time of $7. Text strategy people circumstance around the least like themselves and the humans a place more than what they're on their own ambition military less about other nations easy to say others that fail in a country other country in a clever comment not loom larger calculation the app solves eternal by solving for Germany unions is said. Unions are great for innovation bonds with you. I've shows unionized workplace more productive, have a more stable workforce. Unions support marketplace support growth. Unions improve workplace, making them more productive, no favor and efficiency and production margin units help firms to hold on to standard work, more productive unionized work, less likely to quit. Increases in employment investment training for go up quality, job quality, and unions are critical. Taking better market outcomes, levels of economies, unions to lead a more economic and consumer benefit businesses. Other countries solve innovation. There's no reason the US is key, no impact. The link is about patents and the impact is about management of emerging tech. There's literally zero risk. Innovation produces, not reduces existential risk. Eldest and 14. The most actually technologies Fukushima, depending on whom you ask, the worst case scenario, without the receiver revolution hitting on human instability, you must have faith and just consider every contingency. Executive cut corners labors on goes hard faith in the hands on a few underpaid human beings around and it relates to some state of existential proportion nature second line combined as technofatus or understanding context of the previous innovation and it can also engineer to withstand herbicide having endurance and super reason taking to fix stronger herbicide running out of fossil fuels frack and never mind we're contaminating water. What could go wrong? Democracy also solves any reason why those technologies are bad because they're more cooperative. Back to states. I'll read the back cards. That's impossible. Garbage 22. Administrative nightmare battle for the government mean over certain lashing distributed sentencing by harmonizing all states. I do not want to harmonize the alignment. Beginning to be a nightmare. The second card, VAT reduces efficiency gain twin. Okay, I didn't read Keen.
So you see extra stuff is sent.
Yeah, and the perms.
Yeah, they're in the same doc.
We'll think a little bit of that. Exactly. 9:50. Alright. Are you good for Cossack?
Yeah.
The stagnation advantage, you said secular stagnation is a question of demand.
Correct.
Can you explain?
Yeah, the Dantas evidence says the issue with like current economy is that every time we enter a recession, the private sector will lay off all their workers, meaning that those workers do not have like a paycheck anymore. It means they cannot spend money and inject demand into the
which
economy.
piece of evidence says that demand is going down now?
Dantas evidence. It says that after every recession, people get excluded from the labor force. It says that this thing called labor force participation rates.
Unemployment is at 6%. It's at all-time lows.
Unemployment measures. If you made the argument 1 and 2, I would have read a card. Unemployment measures are like misleading. They do not account for like lack of labor force participation rates.
Wait, so what is the real unemployment rate?
It's a pretty higher. I think it's around like 8%, accounting for people who have been excluded from the labor force.
And that's somehow going to cause the economy to collapse right
It's
now.
not 2%. It's 5%, 3 and 8. But it does collapse the economy. Our evidence says that lack of consumer demand in the economy is what drives these like long, prolonged recessions where we cannot recover.
Which evidence says that these few percent of workers drive
Dantas is fantastic. It says jobs guarantee solves. This is labor force participation rates is what is driving secular stagnation.
It's like kind of old. It's from last year. We've got more recent evidence.
Pooley and Tubi is also from 2022, and it's non-responsive to any of our scenarios because it's not about stagnation. It's about productivity, which is not the internal link.
The China scenario, your impact scenario is that China will sell bioweapons to terrorist organizations.
Yeah.
Which terrorist organizations?
I don't like know any off the top of my head that are like looking for a bioweapon. I mean,
yeah,
the point is that
with terrorist organizations.
The 1AC more evidence says that they would sell it to non-state actors. They don't have to be terrorists. They can just be like
they have to do so?
money. Like those terrorist organizations will
China
buy it for money.
money.
Well, not like the state of China, but like companies within China. If we outcompete them with U.S. pharma, then we can prevent them from selling off their weapons.
How does outcompeting someone stop them from selling?
Yeah, we get like Chinese bioweapons out of the market by putting like U.S.
We're gonna sell them.
No, it's about like pharma innovation. The more evidence is very explicit and says that domestic pharma innovation outcompetes China, so they cannot use global markets.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
The more evidence is clear about it.
The biotech scenario, or I mean internally to the CDC stuff.
Yeah.
Why is creating workers key?
Martindale and the Carpenter evidence says that what happened in COVID was we didn't have enough workers. The reason that COVID doesn't thump is because we got lucky. It wasn't as virulent as it could have been, but our response was stymied by a lack of workers because people got laid off.
Job creation alone is sufficient to solve.
Yeah, Martindale and Carpenter are very, very explicit about that. They say jobs guarantee would be critical to any response to future disease.
The lack of infrastructure and the lack of
the jobs guarantee would partly solve that by building infrastructure, but we also think that the people who working would like distribute vaccines, which would solve for like infrastructure concerns.
And what about like anti-vaccine sentiment and people who are opposed?
Well, sure, there's going to be like anti-vax sentiment that happens in every diseases, but our evidence says that for sufficient, like building or staffing the CDC sufficiently would be sufficient to resolve diseases.
Okay. 9:52. is inflation.
You write down how much we have. 842.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Job creation. States. Stagnation. Then workers. Is everyone good to go? Okay.
Inflation. Job creation.
Yep.
States. Stagnation. Workers.
Good?
Good.
Alright. Inflation outweighs sugar's decline in the defense budget and scarce resources that causes global fights. This is insulated from general recession decline. That's brand. Time frame matters, even if recessions are inevitable in the long run. Japan triggers short-term inflation, turns economy and inequality. Shoka 23, a wage price spiral, forcing rates to move that compresses pricing power and hurts profit margins, brings pullback on lending it. That comes to economy. It's public consensus. Inflation is the largest internal league. Or 719, majority inflation is the most important that ended up half a league. Inflation is the see the problem 50%, inflation more important 4%. Say unemployment turns populism and democracy. Breakdown 19. Slow growth increases extremism. Panel in 60 countries. State which fans decades reflecting cultural effect on growth and extremism turns CDC and pharma. Swamp 18, increased government spending on kind investment in infrastructure by the public and private sectors. They say it's not unique, it's unresponsive. Disad is not about recession, but low levels of inflation, which they have not contested. Goldilocks now. Inflation is under 3%, and GDP jobs and growth are strong now. That's treatment. Demand is high now, consumer spending is up, which means that demand is our uniqueness argument. Any increase in demand is what triggers inflation and causes our disadvantage. Reuters is citing a Dutch bank who contradicts every other economist and has been predicting recession for months but has always been wrong. The Reuters evidence also goes negative. Reuters 96. Investors recently suffered increasing embrace hopes that the Federal Government inflation economic companies remain strong despite the rapid increase in interest rates over the past 18 years. Expansion will continue. Soar 912. The company's entering the expansion job market is strong. The number of workers growing at 1.9% despite the Fed's tightening inflation expectations supplies 1 year expectations up to 3.6. Rent prices are falling. Shelter prices are largest contributor. No inflation 6 with the price rise of 45%. Yet has turned out the economy's fundamental inflation volatility has fallen. Investors are confident. Unemployment is low. Inflation is low. And growth is good. Via us statistics. Mitchell 87. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics latest labor development data indicates steady as she goes. The very stable situation, no sign of recession, no sign of rising unemployment. Unemployment rose by 187,000. Financial activities increased, weakening the hours versus reverse average. Hourly earnings rose, inflationary prices are moderating fast, which was the start of delivery increases. Overall, very stable situation. They say that there's no link. Grouped link defense job guarantee triggers a wage spiral. PAN sets minimum wage at $15 plus benefits. That was cross-ex, which is much higher than the minimum wage. That causes workers to demand higher wages, which causes businesses to raise prices, which triggers inflation, and causes workers to demand higher wages again. That's pinpointed upstream consequences. Everyone up the wage ladder demands higher pay by January 19. Increase in the cost of labor will lead to higher cost to consumers. There are upstream consequences worker making 50. But 20 now, this is the story of wage price spiral stats. Increased bargaining power is directly correlated with record inflation, which is linked to the unions internally equivalent for THH will lead to bargaining power $10. Scenario where wage price spiral where current workers engage strikes get pay hikes, low inflation and prices have less than incredible policies that attack on unions. A wage price spiral is unlikely now. Only union strength will cause wage price spiral proven by the 70s. Read 23. Experts worried about a wage price spiral. This happened in the 1970s. Wages catch up advancing to mechanism. Now fuel price spiral workers fighting power week because you have that spiral models. Wage research trigger wage spiral into the charge for 23. A higher MRSO push up real wages, increase marginal cost of pressure inflation, increasing wage flexibility increases price and wage inflation. It's inextricably linked. It is mathematically impossible for a job guarantee to not trigger a wage price spiral. Lorenzo Tino 23. Policy would have implications for price react strongly high employment translates real high wage demands to about the price inflation is faster than wage inflation. Wage inflation causes the process price inflation. There evidence underestimates cost. It does not account for people leaving private sector jobs and unemployment could rise. Worker 18. Funding would be offset by costs. Authors and number of participants 11 million would already have sometimes as large as the next employment could be a lot larger. Authors is nobody currently employed. Relief is also based on projections. Today's low unemployment, healthcare spikes, nursing costs, and turns disease and pharma. Brennick 18 G2 company for workers screening inflationary pressures. Nurses split upward wage pressures on nursing, rising healthcare costs, kill the economy, increases inequality, turns democracy. Stanford 18 healthcare spending will crunch budgets, businesses, and households, rising costs, job credit, and negative implications. Trade public budgets impact households and labor spend and other sectors impact reverberations. Consumption accounts for 70% of ability to put healthcare. dampen productivity. Unemployment is at an all-time low now, which answers the Ray and their Geneva evidence. You cannot produce more supply when pretty much everyone's already employed. The negative impact is huge. PC goes negative. The macroeconomic effects of this program are sizable. Sacrifice the downward macroeconomic effects, impacts of restaurant, just effects and similar effects, and time frame. Ray concedes that inflation happens immediately before increase in demand kicks in. JT can increase aggregate demand by raising interest rates. This will lead to inflation until the economy adapts. They also do not create the right jobs. They create CDC and infrastructure jobs. Those are not goods that alleviate supply declines, which means that the increase in demand would still cause inflation. A variety of short-term labor market shocks disrupt counter-cyclical flows and roots the main term because they make recession double go creating. Process of the workers replacing more collective condition, weaken the market overall economy industry will turn become entirely nationalized, crowd out, reduces productivity, and magnifies spending. They can cost $2 trillion by 2019. It would cross out tens of millions of jobs. Companies go out, even if just half of low-wage workers, federal employees would rise by 40 million. Costs would rise to $2 trillion. They say inflation is inevitable. The increase in they say inflation is inevitable. This current surge, just 6 months old, does not assume new statistics that say inflation has not been high, and the recent increase in inflation was small and will be temporary and Korean entity. Inflation rose on the back of gas prices, but the good news increase in temporary and central sheet inflation continued to show CPI is 3.7 as bottom from peak and rising gasoline. Not sustainable beyond the required gas decline from a year ago. Core CPI fell. Housing was largely due to core CPI. However, inflation is poised to keep falling. Prices slow, showing by such as feed through the with the lag easing prices with groceries and bright spot. They say it's about global inflation. No, it's about United States inflation, and it's about a world with more inflation. It's not about the status quo, but strong inflation domestically spurs weaker wrong policy break 2022. Inflation is set to provide around like roll out concession impose fewer restrictions on nuclear opportunity. Rollback sanctions for crude oil in the market. East inflation pressure conflict divided reaching foundation divided of particulars Israeli strikes against power. Freeman 22 bad year events around closer to nuke. Credible that the nature of being kept strikes keeping with survival production amplified. The inflation since 48 years ago is not going to adding one face against the Gulf, the Middle East, and the Jewish spreading beyond their region and just maybe into power. It's job creation. Permanent growth leads to net benefit, permanent content, and leads to net benefit, permanent content severance. It competes, companies to pick out of Japan's public sector guarantee, but financing job creation, replicating economic stabilization, which does not lead to net benefit. It's 18 overall between job creation and guaranteed depend hinges on investments. As stabilizes everything improvements to hiring, you can replicate through job creation under the investment. We will create goods and services markets for infrastructure. Process also said they create CDC and public infrastructure jobs, means it cannot be private sector or job creation, preferable natural limits and ground, allowing us to create jobs in the private sector. Expose the public racist things to disads about public sector jobs. They did not make a solvency deficit, so they do not get to make one in 1 year. It definitively solves. Condo is good. First, next topics no longer have inherent controversies or T interpretations on limited topic, but counterpans as functional limits. Second, reasonability of the status quo should always be a logical option. Arbitrary and unpredictable rules are worse than no rules. 3, testing. There's a unique resolution benefit in condo because we should consider different ways to solve inequality. Defense, skew and contradiction level. T, this has to be piloting framework critiques. This bill does not solve because process comprehensive analytics. First, states reject the argument, not the team theory. It's not because not going for a solve for the theory offense, Chrissy Thomas tested competition stagnation. The framing issue is that the Tracy was super running gun on case, and they mostly dropped their warrants, no secular stagnation. First, productivity is universally higher. Second, innovation creates superabundance. Everyone is richer and more productive. 3, best metrics. Only time prices measure effects of innovation on productivity. These all answers the argument about demand being necessary because it proves that production is high now and people are still consuming despite not a job gap gets poorly, except that they dropped the Clary evidence, which is impact defense to the whole first advantage. No new one-error answers. It indicates that models show that countries turn inwards in times of economic instability instead of turning outwards and causing conflict, which means there's no risk of an impact. No new one-error answers. Workers. They cannot solve democracy. First, retrenchment and populism arise from social issues, not economic ones. This was made clear in cross-text. Things like Trumpism are not fueled by unions, but other causes. Second, is stumpers. January 6 and 4 years of Trump proved no impact to populism or democracy. 3, no modeling and promotion, because each all cause above proves why unions are not key, and the United States cannot model abroad. 4, is inevitable outside the U.S. Austin 21. Tempting to populist to find outside future media others. Populist counter support even stronger. Also, ideally, defending staying budgets lead the polls. Market product leads the polls.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
I want to start by clarifying things on the counterpoint. The 1 NC text says that the counterpoint would create jobs through the CDC, which is obviously public sector, and the 2 NC we explained it as subsidizing private sector jobs. What does a counterpoint do?
Good point. Let me think. I guess so. Then it's a pick out of universality. It does not guarantee a job to everyone, which
so okay, then how does it not link to net benefit? Because it still like stimulates demand by guaranteeing people work on the CDC.
Well, it's a small. You said that there's a lot more workers.
Yeah. Okay. Inflation. The overview. the public consensus argument is like inflation is what drives slow growth because the people think that. Why is that relevant for the economy? What like the broad public thinks?
Maybe thinks about uncertainty, but you should also look at the Shokla evidence.
Okay,
It
so
indicates that when
scratch
there's-
orth off your flow. The uniqueness
it's
flow.
about uncertainty. Like when there's high inflation, this card indicates that triggers public uncertainty, consumer uncertainty.
What's the impact
which
of
is-
public uncertainty?
Which is another internally to demand, because your argument is that people need to spend, but if they're worried about rising inflation rates.
Okay.
it
The
increases
uniqueness
that
flow at the
demand.
top, you made a distinction between broader recessions and inflation, and then the only uniqueness evidence you've read is about broader recessions. Like, what is the uniqueness claim for the disad?
We read the Irakari evidence, which is the most recent one.
Okay,
The
right.
CPI increase that happened 2 days or 3 days ago was on the back of rising gasoline prices. That's temporary, and it's not representative of the core CPI, which fell on an annual rate of 4.3%. And it says that the largest contributor to the core CPI is housing, but housing is declining now. There were 45% of states that saw an
Okay.
increase. in
The Bandari evidence says that workers would keep pushing the wage up. We specified that the plan is set at a fixed wage, $15. What's the link?
It's about competition with the private sector. Yes, like if you keep it at $50, this is the reason why I don't solve your scenarios, but it's not the
Ow.
reason you don't link.
How do we not solve our scenarios if we keep it at $15?
Because once inflation occurs, then $15 is not enough to guarantee.
But that's predicated
Some
on you winning a
support
link to
unions over there.
inflation. If there is no link to inflation, meaning that we do not cause this like competitive price bidding between the public sector and the private sector, and there's no like turns
Okay,
case
think about it. The
argument.
minimum wage is $7. You
Right.
double that.
Yes.
Like many states,
I agree with that.
companies pay $7.
Right, I
So
agree
like
with that.
this immediate doubling of the
So
minimum wage
the link is
causes dramatic
predicated on
inflation.
entirely the immediate effect of the plan.
But it also
nothing
causes wage price spirals because
how does it cause the spiral though? I don't understand that.
because it competes with the private sector. The argument on unions is that the government's jobs creates a fallback,
Okay,
so that they know
so
that
like
they
after
demand higher
$15,
wages.
the link is entirely predicated on the unions pushing for higher wages, correct?
Well, I guess it's not just that. There's also stuff about how the immediate perception of inflation, as well as the immediate
Okay,
physical
that-
inflation caused by the plan, will trigger.
Okay,
demand
that's
for
fine.
higher
The
wages,
impact, the one
even
MC
without
Brands
it.
evidence says inflation globally is bad for like geopolitical factors. How does the disad like, or how does the
No,
app
it's
trigger
about
global inflation?
U.S. inflation. It says that if domestic inflation is high now, it eats away at our military budget, which causes. The order is. The politics disad. The critique, the negative income tax kind of plan, the unions disad, the sortition kind of plan. Alright. Evan, I think you stole my phone. Which one? Sortition? Yeah. Okay. And then we'll take a bit of prep. Could you go to Advantage 2? I just can't read.
Okay. And advantage 2 is the last one. Alright. Is anyone not good? Okay.
Concede Pan Popular and Casino Impact we're not going for it, but Pan Popular proves say yes on the sortation content, the critique. We're not going for it. The anti-content. We're not also concede we're not going for it. The unions decide. Concede that there's no innovation impact, which means that there's no offense on this page either, and concede there's no internal link, which means that there was no internal link to begin with. The sortation content. Yes, spillover and yes, internal link if the federal government issues a binding offer to a group of citizens to consider the most radical policy the U.S. has ever conducted. Of course, that empowers futures.